Look, right now, there is a massive $500 million liquidity injection totally transforming the West Harbor waterfront. Everybody's looking at the cranes, the brand new public promenade, and just the sheer massive scale of this redevelopment. But in this explainer, we're going to look at exactly what this means for your inland property. Because if you own an underutilized or vacant retail asset downtown, your property value is literally ticking upward every single day. The problem? Well, most legacy owners have absolutely no idea how to mathematically capture that value. So today, we're going to change that.
Now, here's the hard truth. While the amateur public is busy staring at the shiny new waterfront, sophisticated syndicates and private equity firms are quietly executing a completely different playbook right under your nose. They know for a fact that the institutional alpha isn't on the water, it's in the dirt, 3 blocks away. If you're waiting around for the official ribbon cutting to finally reposition your asset, honestly, your upside is already gone.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the West Harbor spillover and the macro play.
So we have to look at the macroeconomic reality of the incoming traffic bottleneck that's hitting 6th, 7th, and Pacific Avenues. It's a geometric certainty, really. When millions of visitors and dollars pour into one hyper-focused area, it creates immediate micromechanics of demand inland. Think about it. First, the employee base. West Harbor is going to employ hundreds of restaurant staff, hospitality workers, and retail associates. Where are they going to eat lunch? Where do they get their hair cut? Inland. Second, the vendor influx. Waterfront businesses need local office space, they need storage, overflow prep kitchens. Your downtown properties are the prime candidates for that. And finally, parking overflows. As the waterfront inevitably gets congested, tourists are going to park in the municipal structures on 6th and 7th, which forces them to walk right past your storefronts before they ever even see a boat. So what does all that physical traffic actually mean for your ledger? Well, proximity to this massive redevelopment will historically compress retail cap rates by 75 to 150 basis points. That's roughly 0.75 to 1.5% over a 24-month horizon. And when cap rates compress, the multiplier on your property's income goes up, mathematically driving up your property value. You don't even have to change a single thing about the building itself. The market is just pricing in the premium of the waterfront's gravitational pull. Moving on to Section 2. Shifting cost to yield, and the psychological trap. To truly capitalize on this, we really need to desentimentalize your historic family property and drag your mindset into a strict, cold, algorithmic financial framework. Because opportunistic developers, they absolutely rely on your emotional attachment and, frankly, a lack of institutional data. These large-scale developers use really aggressive scouting teams to find legacy mom-and-pop owners who just don't know the true value of their dirt. They'll come in, offer you these all-cash, quick-close deals that sound amazing on the surface, but they're actually 30% to 40% below your property's true future adjusted market value. They're buying your asset based on yesterday's reality, not tomorrow's demand. To defend against this, you have got to stop valuing your building based on what you paid for it in the past, or what the building next door sold for 3 years ago. You must start valuing it strictly by the yield it generates. And that brings us to net operating income, or NOI. In the commercial arena, NOI is the absolute institutional metric that drives valuation. It's the lifeblood of your asset's worth, period. Which brings us to Section 3, Manufacturing Equity with NNN, the microplay. Now, people always ask, is there a mathematical way to calculate how much equity I'm manufacturing just by switching to a triple net or NNN lease? Yes, absolutely. And this is the core strategy of this whole explainer, manufacturing massive equity by restructuring a single lease. See, the legacy modified gross lease, which so many owners are still using, by the way, is actively bleeding your wealth. You, as the owner, are absorbing the rising costs of taxes, insurance, and maintenance straight out of your own pocket. But an institutional NNN contract forces the tenant to absorb all of those operational costs. This one single shift in lease structure is the absolute secret to unlocking the wealth trapped in your dirt.
Let's look at a side-by-side financial comparison to prove how this works. Think about the math of converting to an NNN lease. If you're paying, say, $50,000 a year out of pocket for property taxes, insurance, and roof repairs, those expenses are completely crushing your NOI. But by shifting that exact $50,000 off your ledger and onto the tenant's ledger, your net operating income instantly jumps by $50,000. And that's even if the base rent you collect stays exactly the same. Why is that a big deal? Because commercial value is calculated by dividing your NOI by the market cap rate. That $50,000 in saved expenses is a massive lever. For example, if your local cap rate is 5%, shifting $50,000 to the tenant, mathematically manufactures a staggering $1 million in instant property equity, right out of thin air, before you ever even hit the open market. You aren't doing any heavy construction or renovations, you're literally just optimizing the math of your contract. But listen, knowing this math means absolutely nothing if you fall into the leasing discount trap. Do not let high interest rate panic push you into signing long-term, weak leases. With over 2,000 new residential units delivering in the core right now, the consumer demographics are rapidly upscale shifting. Premium, creditworthy regional tenants like boutique retail and hospitality brands are aggressively looking for submarket space to escape those crazy premium waterfront rents. You need to hold your ground for a tenant who can actually support higher rents and stronger NNN terms. All right, Section 4, Institutional Exit Strategies and Dodging the Tax Trap.
So now that you've manufactured all this equity, you're facing Los Angeles County's incredibly steep capital gains taxes. You need an institutional exit vehicle to dodge that tax trap and protect what you've built. Let's walk through the exact play used by REITs, the 1031 exchange. Step 1, like we just covered, is maximizing your NOI via an NNN lease, so your property is valued at its absolute peak. Step 2, you sell or trade that historic high-maintenance building. And step 3, you roll those funds, tax-free, to acquire a fully passive single-tenant corporate retail site or a medical building literally anywhere in the country. By executing this exchange, you preserve 100% of your generational wealth and you completely erase all the headaches of local property management, the whole shebang.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to shift your perspective. You are not just managing an old brick storefront with sentimental history anymore. You are sitting on an appreciating, yield-generating asset right in the middle of a $500 million liquidity event. The institutional data is clear and the math of the triple net lease is undeniable. So the only question now is, are you going to use this playbook to protect your family's equity, or are you just going to keep watching the water while someone else executes the trade?